Welcome, cadets. This is Mr. Storm, and in this video we are going to explore how we are going to write our programs. So hopefully you have an idea of what C# is, how it works, kind of, a little bit, maybe. But this video is going to be more of a tangible lesson, because this is exactly, this is how you're going to write your programs and turn in your assignments. So in the past, when I taught this course, I used desktop software such as Visual Studio or VS Code, and that software is totally fine. You can go ahead and use that software if you want, if you're familiar with it. Perfectly fine. But I just had too many issues with that. Plus, I wanted to find an option that would allow you to do your work if you are working at home and you don't have that software. So what I found is this website called Replit. Repl.it, Replit. This website is fantastic. Okay, it is free. Now notice that there is a pricing tab, but if we click on that pricing tab, we can see that they have a starter option, which is what you are going to use. Now, as a teacher, I have access to some more advanced features for free. But you guys, you'll have, 500 megabytes worth of storage is plenty enough for this class. So let's talk about how to get started. So I'm going to, I'm going to log in. You are going to want to sign up. And when you sign up, you're going to want to sign in with your Google account, your Utah Military Academy Google account. So I am signed in, I'm logged in. Now here, this is the home page of what Replit looks like, okay? So this is going to be our IDE, so our Integrated Development Environment. So Replit is our IDE. And remember, an IDE is essentially the platform, the software that allows you to write instructions to your computer. Now, what about the SDK, the Software Development Kit? Well, for that is going to be you choosing the language you want to use. So Replit has a ton of programming languages that it recognizes, that it has SDKs for, and we don't have to do anything to install anything new. All we have to do is just click the language we want to start programming in. And so for me, I'm going to go ahead and click C#, which is the programming language for this class. So I'm going to click C# there, and it's going to boot up in Replit. Okay, perfect. So now let me zoom in a bit so it's easier to see. Okay, so now I have my program over here that I can manipulate, and then I have my console window over here to see the output. So let's see what would happen if I click run. Let's see. All right, so it shows hello world onto my screen because I'm using a console.writeline and I'm putting the words hello world onto the screen. Okay, so this is a basic, and this is going to be the thing that pops up. This is going to be like the template that pops up every time you start a new Replit. So a couple things we need to do first before we really get started and start programming is I want to click up here and change the name to, let's say, REPL example. And you can give it a description if you would like. And then I'm going to, let it update. So REPL example. Now notice that I have these two files here. Okay, I have main.cs and main.exe. Now to turn in your assignments, I do not want you to share your assignments with me. Okay, what I want you to do is download the CS file for the project itself. Now, it doesn't just allow you to directly download the CS file. What you actually have to do is come up here and click download as a zip, which will create a zip file. Let's just put it on my desktop with the project name. Once it's downloaded, I want you to extract the CS file out of the compressed folder, right? So it's going to be just the CS. I want you to just turn in the CS file, okay? And if I was to open up the CS file and just double click it, yeah, let's just open it up in Notepad. You can see that it has all of the code that I wrote will pop up in there. Okay, let's go back to Replit. So again, Replit, in order to turn in your projects, you're going to want to download as a zip. All right, let's see what else. That's pretty much it. I mean, honestly, this is pretty easy. For example, if you want to see what it looks like on Visual Studio, let's go ahead and pull up Visual Studio, because again, you may be using Visual Studio because you might be more comfortable with it, and you might want to using more advanced IDE, and that's perfectly fine. So, for example, in Visual Studio, if I want to create a new project, I click Create New Project. And I wait. And we keep waiting. And this is not very responsive today. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, it's asking me to sign in because I haven't. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes it can be a bit of a pain. So I'm going to click sign in. I will sign into my Microsoft account, which is what it's asking for. Come on. Replit is probably going to be your preferred, but let's suffer through this together so we can see what it looks like in another IDE. Here's the thing. Here's the point I'm really trying to make right now is that, you know, your IDE doesn't really matter. The output that I'm looking for is the .cs file. So if you find an IDE you're comfortable with, if it's something that you would rather use, you can use any IDE you want. Make sure you have installed the proper SDK though. We're going to talk about how to do that on a desktop version of an IDE here in just a second once I get signed in. Okay. My email's in there. Let's type in my password. Okay, sign in. Beautiful. Let's give it a second. Let's give it another second. Let's give it 5 more seconds. Okay, so I'm signed in. Good, good, good. Thank you. Okay, so now, now that I've signed in and I've passed that hurdle, now I can see all the projects that I have available to me. Now, notice that a lot of these are C++, C++. Let me filter by C# here, and notice that I do not have any C# options. That's because I do not have the SDK for C# installed on this computer. So if I want to use Visual Studio, then I want to click Install More Tools and Features and click Yes. And you didn't see that because it was just asking me for administrator privileges and all that. It will pop up with this Visual Studio installer. Again, hopefully you're, oh, and now I need to update the install. All right, I'm pulling the ripcord. I'm calling it on this video. In terms of, you can see that it really takes a lot more to. It's going kind of fast. Maybe I'll just keep riffing until we get there. But hopefully you can see that, you know, look, Visual Studio, it's definitely worth it. Once it's all done, once it's all installed, it's worth it to use Visual Studio because I like it. It has a lot of great features that I would want to use. But again, it takes a lot of steps to set up. We're almost there. It's actually installing pretty quickly. Now, this is just an update for the installer. I haven't even installed the SDK yet. Are we, again, seeing why Replit is probably a good idea? And we're going to talk more about Replit. There may be projects where I send you a starter for the project, and then you create a copy of that, which is something we can do as well, which is great. So maybe, okay, so now I'm in the installer. All right, so if you are following along at home, notice that I have all these options here. These are SDKs, okay? So all of these options are SDKs. These are software development kits that I will need to install into my Visual Studio platform, my Visual Studio IDE, right? Visual Studio is the IDE, and then these are all SDKs. And the one I'm looking for is this .NET Desktop Development. So once I click that, I notice that it's 3.57 gigs for the install. I'm actually not going to install it, but once you do, you click that and you click modify and it will download your SDK. But I'm going to close out of here. Let's go back to Replit. Okay, much easier, right? Okay, so Replit is what I'm going to be using to teach you all these concepts. I will be, you'll be staring at a screen that looks much like this for the rest of the semester. And we're going to be going over all of the things that we're doing, and I'll show you everything in Replit. So if you're comfortable using Replit, please use Replit. Again, if you want to use another IDE, it's completely up to you. You're going to have to go through the steps to make sure you have the right SDK installed in order to use another IDE. But again, completely up to you. Okay, let's see. Is there anything in Replit that I want to cover again? No, not really. Settings. Ooh, here's one thing that's really important. Some of you like a dark theme. There you go. You can change it to dark theme. I might actually keep that. It looks pretty good, actually. So I might keep the dark theme. Ooh, let's try stacked. I might like stacked. I don't know. Let's try side by side for now. Font. Ooh, I can just increase. See, look at this. Hold on a second. I can increase the font size. That's better. I like that. Let's do that. Let's keep that. Oh, but then this font size doesn't get bigger. Oh well, we'll play around with it. Anyway, this video is almost 12 minutes long, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it here. Again, use Replit. Use really any IDE you want, but IDE and SDK. One more time, just so that we have it. An IDE is the software you use to type instructions. It usually has a compiler and a debugger that helps you find errors in your code and will spit out the result of your code if it all runs properly. The SDK is like the language pack for the specific programming language you are using. Okay, so that's the difference between those two. All right, that's it for me. Please, ask any questions that you have. Play around with a couple different IDEs to see which one you're comfortable with, but hopefully Replit is the one that you stick with because that's the one I'm going to be using. All right, see you later. Peace.